I feel privileged to be working in this new model, to be working with Archways. I was approached by my own county in New Jersey, it's called Monmouth County, asked if I would work for them full-time for 3 years to develop a program and actually look at its effects scientifically. And as someone who was trained as a scientist, but who was also a practitioner, that was a winning combination. And I did that. I worked for them for 3 years, developed a group-based program to prevent youth from developing adolescent problems, and looked at the results of that program, which, as I say, that it's very rare for a practitioner to get that chance. So we had that group-based program. I trained many other people to do the program. And then at one point, I got a chance from Rochester, New York, to develop an individually based program. They wanted my program, but they wanted it done for individuals. So with them, and I worked with them for 10 years and got feedback from them. They were very interested in helping develop it. They also gave me a chance to do a scientific evaluation, gave me access to all the data, and gave me a lot of support. So between Monmouth County, New Jersey, and Rochester, New York, 2 different states in the United States, I was able to develop both a group and individually based program and look at the data and find that they both helped prevent youth from getting into behavioral problems, dropping out of school early. I feel like I'm very fortunate because these opportunities just came to me. Having been trained as a scientist, I wanted to know if I was having an effect. To be working for people who also wanted that was, as I say, this rare opportunity. But there was a lot of trial and error. You know, in the first years, I tried forming groups this way. I tried meeting at this time. I tried contacting parents this way. I tried contacting parents that way, and tried working with school personnel this way, and tried working with them that way. And fortunately, the data always showed me whether or not I was going in the right direction. And when the data suggested I was going in the wrong direction, then I got feedback pretty quickly and moved to a new direction. And as you know, I guess, most surprising part of the data is before I got feedback that I had a package that was working well, it took 2 years. It takes 2 years for the type of intervention that we're doing, this mentoring, this monitoring the youth, and mentoring them on how they can do better. One really needs to stick with them for a couple years before when the data show you that you're going in the right direction. When teachers in particular, this is a school-based program, saw how hard I was working. You know, I was there 1 full day a week or 2 full days a week in the school working with these high-risk youth. Sometimes the teachers would say to me, I've seen how hard you're working, and I don't see the youth becoming honor students or becoming angels. And fortunately, after I realized it took 2 years, I was able to say to them, and again, thank goodness I was collecting data. So after 2 years, I was able to say to them, I know this takes 2 years, and I know if I stick with it for 2 years, I'll have a positive impact. But it takes a while. And one thing I would say is the youth habits took 12, 13, 14 years to develop in the first place, the habits that weren't helping them. So I guess it's not surprising that it takes 2 years for them to learn new habits and different habits than the ones that they've been having for 12 years. I think the absolutely most important thing they do is what we call monitoring. Watching what the student is doing and letting the student know that they're watching. I think that helps adolescents do the tough work in order to succeed in our society. If they know someone is noticing and is ready to give them credit for doing that tough work, because it isn't easy to be an adolescent. It's not easy to meet the standards of our schools and our society. And if an adolescent feels like they're doing it all alone and almost nobody is noticing, it's harder for them to keep going. And so I think the mentor is adding somebody. And now, of course, parents care, but parents don't know everything that's going on, particularly in schools. And so the mentor's adding the monitoring function, which most parents are trying to do, to just give the kid notice and credit for how hard they're trying to meet the standards. In order to do this program, one has to be quite systematic and quite disciplined in one's own life, because there's quite a bit of scheduling challenges and meeting. You want to meet with teachers, you want to look at the records, you want to keep records, you want to find ways, creative ways to meet with youth in schools. The youth workers in their other jobs have to do that all the time. They're clubbed to fit in all the clubs, to arrange all of the youth activities, to keep their records so the funding agencies know they're being kept. They already are doing so many of the skills that are necessary in the self-discipline to do this program. They bring that. They, of course, love youth. They wouldn't be youth workers if they didn't. And they know youth. And have also tried to work with schools. I think it's going to be new for them how much time they're going to spend in the schools in my program. But they've been in the schools. They've worked with schools. And of course parents. They have to talk to parents all the time about the youth being in youth activities. So they've got so many positive experiences that they're bringing to this. People in the States are just beginning to realize that in order for prevention programming to be done well, disseminated, and to be maintained. I mean, the history is there are so many good programs, at least well-intended people, that come and go. And people have looked for years how to maintain these programs. How come they come and go? And I think people have just discovered that an organization like Archways is necessary. We call it the intermediate organization, for a program to be introduced well enough so it's going to be done in the correct way. The integration into the existing structure in a community, and the maintenance of it. So Archways is, I have faith that if there's some challenges that develop with this program, it's not going to be all on the youth workers to figure out what to do about it. Archways is going to be in there, and Archways is integrated into the community structure so that they're going to be able to talk with people and figure out how to meet challenges, maintain the program. So I feel privileged to be working in this new model, to be working with Archways. Hi, Mr. Smith.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm Brenna Bry, yes, and I'm the mentor for, I believe, one of your students is Joe Smith, one of your students.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to help him do better in school.
Oh, very good.
And to help him do better in school, I'd like to find out what he would need to do in your class in order to do better.
Yes.
And I've got some general questions I always ask teachers.
The things that he doesn't like, the reading a book and writing about it. If you give him that type of work, he just doesn't do it. But if you give him something that's fairly practical, he's actually very good at that. I think he's very personable. You know, he's very good with other people, and he's very popular. Very popular lad. Very popular.